Every time a library adds something to its collection, whether that's a book placed on a shelf or a database licensed online, it is making a decision that shapes what people can learn, research, and imagine. And just as importantly, every time a library doesn't add something, that decision shapes access as well. Collection development is often described as technical work, but in reality, it is one of the most consequential forms of professional judgment librarians exercise. It sits at the intersection of limited resources, expanding information ecosystems, and the lived realities of the communities we serve. This week, we are thinking about how libraries build both on site and online collections in ways that balance three forces that are often in tension: quality, demand, and representation. And I want to be very clear: there is no formula that perfectly resolves that tension. Instead, there are informed choices, ethical frameworks, and professional standards that guide us through it. As future librarians, you will be asked to justify your decisions, not only in terms of cost or usage, but in terms of values. What deserves a place in the collection? Whose voices are present? Whose are absent? And what responsibilities come with making those decisions on behalf of a community? Today's discussion focuses on collection development as an intentional, strategic, and ethical practice, one that extends far beyond selecting materials and into shaping access, inclusion, and intellectual freedom. Let's begin there. When we talk about building collections, everything really begins with a single, deceptively simple idea: choice. Every collection decision, whether for print on the shelves or digital resources online, is an intentional act of choosing one thing instead of another, and just as importantly, choosing not to acquire something. That decision might be shaped by budget limits, space constraints, licensing terms, or community priorities, but it is always a choice with consequences. Historically, this work was often described as selection, but that term doesn't fully capture what happens today. Collection development now involves navigating multiple formats, platforms, access models, and competing priorities at once. For example, deciding between purchasing a popular print title that will circulate heavily or licensing an online resource that supports a smaller but underserved group of users. Every one of these choices quietly pushes the collection and the institution toward its larger goals. Whether we realize it or not, collection development is where strategy becomes concrete. Now, layer that process of choice onto the reality of modern publishing. We are not working in a world of scarcity. We are working in a world of overwhelming abundance. Hundreds of thousands of new titles are published each year, and that number continues to rise once you factor in digital publishing, self-publishing, open access materials, and born digital content. And it's not just about volume, it's about format diversity. Hardbound books, paperbacks, ebooks, databases, streaming media, datasets, websites. Each format comes with distinct costs, access conditions, and usability concerns. This is where collection development becomes professional labor rather than passive accumulation. Faced with abundance, the role is not to collect everything, it is to evaluate systematically. Without deliberate criteria and tools, collections become uneven, reactive, and disconnected from actual user needs. The challenge is never what exists. The challenge is deciding what matters. Turning abundance into a meaningful collection requires intention. High quality selection means moving beyond what is newest or most marketable and instead asking careful questions. Who is this resource for? How will it be used? What problem does it solve? What does it add that we don't already have? In practice, this might look like evaluating multiple psychology databases that appear similar on the surface, then discovering that one supports undergraduate coursework better, while another is more useful for faculty research. The decision isn't about which is best in isolation, it's about which best fits the community being served. Selection also cannot be separated from acquisition. Choices about format and platform shape access in very real ways. A print book may be less expensive upfront, but an online resource may provide broader access, support distance learners, or integrate directly into learning management systems. On-site and online collections are not separate worlds. They are interconnected systems that require coordinated decision-making. This is where collection development becomes deeply ethical. If collections are built only on popularity or mainstream publishing trends, they will naturally privilege dominant voices. Diverse and representative collections require intentional effort. That means actively seeking out alternative literature, materials published by small presses, independent creators, activist organizations, or community based initiatives. These resources are often harder to find and less frequently reviewed, but they are essential for representing a pluralistic society. Consider what happens when we rely exclusively on high circulation data. Demand is visible, but need often isn't. A resource may be lightly used and still be vital for a specific population. Building inclusive collections means balancing what is popular with what is necessary. Representation does not emerge automatically. It reflects conscious professional choices. As collections become more inclusive, they also become more contested. Materials that represent marginalized perspectives or challenge dominant narratives are often the ones that provoke discomfort or challenge, and that is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that the collection is doing meaningful work. Professional ethics matter most at this point. Intellectual freedom is not just an abstract principle. It is upheld through consistent policies, transparent decision making, and a willingness to defend access even when doing so is uncomfortable. Clear collection development policies provide structure and protection. They allow decisions to be anchored in professional standards rather than personal opinion or external pressure. Institutional integrity depends on this consistency. Building balanced collections means accepting that not every choice will be universally welcomed and committing to those choices anyway. Building on-site and online collections is not about chasing trends or filling shelves. It is about shaping access, representation, and opportunity, one choice at a time. As future professionals, your responsibility will not only be to select resources, but to understand why those resources matter, who they serve, and how they reflect your institution's values. Collection development may be quiet work, but it is some of the most powerful work libraries do.